67,000 federal employees got a raise to a minimum of $15 an hour like a couple weeks ago. Why is that? Why is the administration not going all over the place with that and like the project labor agreements?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
In the chat, we've got Jeb. He said I picketed Trump Casino with Unite Here in 2016 when he wouldn't honor a contract that had been legally bargained. Very humbling experience being with those brothers and sisters. Solidarity. That's awesome. And DL Sendero, he said, I picketed with the West Virginia teachers during their strike back in 2018. This is just before they were going to go Wildcat. It is the greatest labor experience of my life. That is awesome. Very cool. I have loved being able to be on picket lines with folks. Especially, there's really nothing like being on a picket line when a strike starts. There's such a just a raw kind of like screw you energy. It's almost like a party, and it's awesome. It's so much fun. I've been able to be with CWA workers that were striking against AT&T and auto workers and coal miners. I think that's all. That's the only people that I've been on the picket line with. But I second that, D. El Sendero. And while we're reading from the YouTube chat, Jeb also said that Biden was at Ironworkers Local 5 in D.C. yesterday signing an executive order for project labor agreements on federal projects over $35 million, and that's huge. That is huge for the building trades unions. And for an administration that is having so few wins, I don't know why, 67,000 federal employees got a raise to a minimum of $15 an hour like a couple weeks ago. Why is that? Why is the administration not going all over the place with that and like the project labor agreements? Jeb said, especially in North Alabama with all those low road contractors working on federal projects. All these people, we talked the other day about these non-union contractors. 30% of construction workers are on some sort of government assistance program like food stamps or Medicaid or something like this. And those aren't union workers, okay? Those are non-union construction workers, and their bosses are making more, and it's just insane. So these,
that reminds me of a conversation we had a while back with Patricia Todd with Jobs to Move America, and they did the study on state subsidies here in Alabama and the ways in which the state government, local governments, just bend over backwards to give money, resources, tax breaks, tax incentives, you name it, they're all there to try to more or less, maybe bribe is a strong word, but it's a form of, legal bribery in a way to get companies to locate here or to expand here.
Right.
And, that just seems like a common sense sort of metric when you're looking, if you are doing economic development. Maybe you should ask, are you going to pay your workers enough to where we don't have to turn around and subsidize them in other ways through the social safety net? Are you going to provide benefits that are sufficient for your workers so that, they don't qualify for Medicaid? Seem like very common, that's just low-hanging fruit that you should look at when you're doing economic development.
Adam, you're crazy for thinking that when your tax dollars go to private hands, that they should support their workers. Obviously, your tax dollars should be primarily given to the pockets of the Raytheon CEO. That's where it's important that when we allocate your tax dollars, we need to be primarily focused with making sure that CEOs get as much money as possible with as few restrictions on how they treat their employees.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because we have a gentleman called Del Marsh, state senator here in Alabama, former state Senate pro tem. He's now taken a step back from that so he can focus all of his time and energy on privatizing the public school system. And we'll talk about this more in depth next week. But, the idea being that, you as a resident, you pay taxes that go to schools, and so you should get that money back to send to a private school or a home school or a church school. So I'm just wondering, when do my tax dollars that I pay towards the war machine and mass incarceration, when do I get that back? Because maybe I could use that to build a security system.
Yeah.
You know, I could buy more ammunition as I exercise my Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
So, you know, just if we're going to do a la carte government services and taxes here and just pick and choose, just something to think about.
Speaking of school privatization, though, while we're kind of reading topics and just going off the hip, Terry Michael commented in our Facebook chat, which we read during the show. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, and if you want to contribute to the show or you want to say something, but you don't want to call in to our phone number 844-899-TVLR. The phone number is 844-899-8857. If you don't want to do that, you can just write a comment in the chat on YouTube or on Facebook. Terry Michael is a field rep for AFT in Birmingham, and she said that their sick out to improve working conditions during the pandemic at the Birmingham City Schools, they won all 9 items that they asked for. There were 9. She's saying that there were 9 items that Birmingham City teachers were asking for, and that's why they conducted their sick out, and they won all of them. I'm not Adam. Do you know what the 9 things that they were asking for were?
No, I think, but if we do a deep dive next week on
we'll definitely be talking about
School Choice Act, school privatization, that I would love to see, what all they were able to accomplish there. So, thank you for that, and shout out to Birmingham for leading the way.
Solidarity with them. I appreciate it, Terry. And Terry, if you've got any guest suggestions for this topic, feel free to send them our way. Any teachers that would down in Birmingham that would be particularly good to talk through, we would welcome that suggestion as well.
Work sucks, we know, but you can make it better by organizing with your fellow workers. For more information, call or text the Huntsville Industrial Workers of the World at 256-651-6707.